Welcome to the Hollywood Scholar. I'm Jed Morgan. And Thor Love and Thunder has really fallen off at the box office, even more than I could have predicted. Now, these are very similar percentages to Doctor Strange, but with Thor Love and Thunder already starting out well below Doctor Strange's initial gross, it's not looking very good for this new movie. It looks like my initial predictions of it barely getting over $600 million and breaking even will be correct, as it's very much on track to do that at this point. And we've got this article here from Forbes box office. Thor Love and Thunder plunges 80% but tops 200 million. Now this is 80% for the Friday of the weekend, not the entire weekend itself. And Doctor Strange also saw an 81% drop in its second Friday in release. So these are very, very similar numbers to what Doctor Strange did. But again, this movie was already well below the initial gross of Doctor Strange. So it seems to be very much on track on following the percentage of Doctor Strange, which will land at about $650 million, which is barely breaking even because this movie costs so much money to make. It is so much more than any other MCU movie, any other Thor movie, really any other movie that I've even seen. A budget for this is a $250 million budget is quite insane. So numbers like this is not what they want. And everyone who's saying, well, it's the best opening for a Thor movie. Oh, it's the best this, it's the best this. Marvel has been putting more and more money into their movies. So they need more and more of a box office. So yes, this is the highest grossing Thor movie to this point. But with the higher budget and the higher expectations and inflation, which is quite high at this point, this will still end up being a disappointment, even if it makes more money than Ragnarok, because of all the variables involved and the emphasis that Marvel is putting on it with such a high budget. So it can still do better than Ragnarok, but still fail at the same time. And so we also have this number here from Screen Rant. It's in a few other places. This one just had it up at the top. Overall, the weekend had a 68% drop in the entire weekend. It may fluctuate a tad tonight on Sunday night, but it's usually not that much for a Sunday night. It really doesn't change all that much Sunday nights. So that's really not good, but roughly the same as Doctor Strange. So again, you can track out Thor's progress over the next few weeks, comparing it to Doctor Strange quite a bit. So yeah, about 650 million, which is right at its break-even point, which is really, really pathetic. Movies aren't meant to break even these days, especially Marvel movies. When you put in $250 million budget, anything that makes less than $1 billion is a failure because that fails to live up to expectations. That's why they put so much money into these. They want these to be billion-dollar movies or they're not working. So Doctor Strange, even though it made a lot of money, still a failure because it did not cross $1 billion either. That's what these movies are designed for now. That's why they have such a high budget. The Marvel hype machine is in full force with them. They are designed to make $1 billion. Anytime they don't in Phase 4, that is a problem. So this one's going to be a failure too, maybe even more so than Doctor Strange because it'll be so close to just barely breaking even. Now, we have the actual numbers here for Thor Love and Thunder. It did quite a bit better internationally than it did domestically this last weekend, because last weekend the domestic was $143 million. This weekend it was about $60 million. That is terrible. That is awful. Now, internationally did do a little bit better, so its total is now at $415 million. Now, Doctor Strange made half of its initial earnings in its first week, and its second week really wasn't on track to do any better. So this number still very much on track, still very much in coordination with the percentages of Doctor Strange, still very much on track for the 650, maybe 700 million. But the word of mouth for this film has been far worse than the Doctor Strange ones. I personally think Doctor Strange is more broken, but I don't think either of them deserve positive word of mouth. But this movie is definitely receiving quite a bit of negative publicity from the word of mouth aspect of things. But still, better international numbers that I do have to give it props for, but domestically it failed and burned. I imagine next weekend it won't even make 40 million at the domestic box office, maybe not even 30 million. If you keep that tracked out, there's no way it's gonna break 700 million. I don't see it. I would stake my channel on it not breaking 700 million at this point. But yeah, it's just really kind of funny to see after everything that this movie was about, everything it did, how much it tore down the character of Thor, who was the last original theatrical Avenger. So a lot of people are very personally attached to him because of that. And to see him so abused in this movie is disappointing at best. But, you know, those are some really interesting numbers. I can't wait to see how it does in the next few weekends. Yeah, just really going under all predictions at this point. Just some really interesting numbers here, but 80% from that Friday to Friday is not a good number for a movie of this caliber, and I'd be really interested to see how much it can fall off in the coming weeks, and by the time it's at the end of its run, I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't even break even at all. But anyway, that's all I have for today. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Anon. If you like what I do here and want to see good, compelling stories that Hollywood will no longer give you, check out my book series, Odyssey of a Phoenix, a mythological epic about philosophy, morality, and modern-day mental illness issues. Books 1, Down in Flames, and Book 2, Apocalypse Then, currently on sale. Book 3, Kill the Dark, coming soon.